Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 9th day of August 2022. It is 8:30 p.m., around 3.5 hours after the polling stations, also according to the Constitution, have been closed officially. And of course, the polling end and the beginning of counting officially begins. Well, this is 2022 general elections, and we are here to elucidate and give you more on the decisions of Kenyans, what they voted, who they voted for. And of course, we have several guests here. I have 4 guests who are going to help us in looking at this issue, of course, as we make a post-mortem of the general elections of the 2022. Of course, my first guest here is George Ndawa. George Ndawa is, of course, a political commentator and is coming to us live on GBS TV. Of course, this is the Insight Special Edition. Thank you so much, Mr. Ndawa, and welcome to the Insight Special Edition.
Thank you.
Of course, we have Mr. John Mangeni. John Mangeni is also a political commentator, political analyst, a governance expert, also coming and joining us on the Insight tonight as we discuss and give insight more on the elections. What do we expect? We also have Washington Junior Nyango, who is also a youth leader of Migori County and a political commentator. Thank you so much, Washington, for joining us on this conversation. We have Cosmas Njoroge, who is an advocate of the High Court. He's also joining us in for this conversation. Of course, as we speak much and get to teach you, or rather what they think, of course, through their eyes, we're going to elucidate to you. This deliberate conversation is for you to understand, of course, the happenings around the general elections of the succession politics of 2022. But let me start with you, Mr. George Ndawa. The general elections of 2022, generally, I know we are not yet done with it because there's some bit of it, that is the results. We await the results. But generally, you make a post-mortem of how the elections were held. What do you think about it?
Well, we have had one of the noisiest campaigns, which has lasted for quite a long time, and I think many Kenyans were fatigued by the whole thing, because, I mean, listening to campaigns for 4 years intensely, actually 9 years, but the last 4 years were like the full stretch, you know, where even those who are not, who didn't begin that early joined in, and then now the whole Kenya is like life was at a standstill. We were in captivation there. So, but then I think we are progressing well in our politics. If I look at how we have been campaigning and voting, it has changed a little bit because there are some matters that have also come in, which of course right now have given us more discussions, more points to discuss on, and also look at George Lushiri Wajakoya. The guy just went off completely. He wasn't in the same line of the conversation that has been happening year in, year out. So he brought also another dimension of a conversation where Kenyans just need to come back to their senses and begin a new talk. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Of course, the results tallying on going across the country. Of course, we have so many things happening right now. But of course, I just want to hear from the next person, that is John Mangeni, who a political commentator. How did you see these elections actually? Now that we have come this far, what do we expect?
Well, first, thank you, GBS TV, for having me here once again to be able to share with my fellow panelists. I would want first to agree that there have been like a fatigue, and being personally, I'm looking, and I believe many other Kenyans, we are looking for an opportunity to now start another phase. Whoever we have done the choices we have chosen, we are wishing that now we begin another phase of implementations. And yeah, it has been a very tiring period because we've been having moments that are too high than even election moments themselves. But now, Kenyans should expect that we will have a new administration, because this is a transition election. So we'll have a new administration, and we should expect, push them to give us more.
Okay, quite interesting. Washington.
Thank you very much, Eugene. So I would say that this election that is currently going, it's one of the, personally, according to me, is one of the best elections and campaigns ever. Remember, this election where we've seen the politics of ideas and not the tribal-based politics we've seen in the past electioneering periods. These are politics where people have been talking of real economic models, as me having a trickle-down economic model, the other hand having the bottoms-up economic model. So to me, I think this is one of the best elections in the history, and I hope that regardless of the low voter turnout as elucidated by the IEBC, at the end of the day, the choices we had in the ballot will actually, the result will reflect the choices we had in the ballot, and at the end of the day, we hope each and every party will be satisfied with the outcome.
Okay,
yeah.
Quite interesting. Cosmas, they've talked about, of course, voter apathy, but before we talk about voter apathy and other issues, well, in your own view, how free and credible is this election?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kwach, for having me here today. To talk about free and fairness at this point, you can only give a preliminary observation.
Yes, yes.
And in my view, the elections are free and fair. We have seen very few issues like war. We have seen people's agents are in polling stations. They are allowed to be there. And one thing we need to also note is that there have been some negatives associated with this election that came before. These are to do with preparation. I think a lot needs to be done. This is a lesson, because we have seen incidences where some parts have been suspended, elections in some parts like Kakamega and Mombasa. They have been suspended. Yet our good commissioners had time to go to Greece to tell us that the documents were good. So those small irregularities, they can affect the election, but it is yet to be seen. Yes.
We wonder whether that will be one of the reasons maybe that you will mention as that which has maybe motivated voter apathy. But of course, let me just ask you, Mr. Ndawa, according to your own perspective, do you think that the reasons that led to the nullification of the 2017 presidential election were, of course, catered for in the 2022 general elections? Did the IBC do something to ensure that those things or issues that were in 2017 never appeared, or was not to appear in 2022?
You know, I have two things to say about this. Number one is that IEBC, in as much as we may want to push people to say that we believe in IEBC, nobody believes in IEBC. Not even those politicians there, even the president himself doesn't believe in IEBC, because IEBC has always had 5-year cycles to prepare for a general election. And each time they come, there had never been a time that we peacefully get out of some place and dance without other people having a very big issue, not just a small one. So as at now, IBC is not trusted. That one has to sink in all our minds. And number two, it's the behavior.
What are these reasons that are making you not to believe or trust in IBC?
IBC, look at what happened even in this election. things that they know they have to put in place for the whole nation to know. They have to be pushed.
Okay.
I mean, an information that you are getting papers into the country. We were just seeing papers coming in. They pop in the airport without even them knowing. Some of them were not even received by the IBC officials like they used to do, which gave us some confidence in like, oh, papers are coming in next week, and oh, there they are. You know, in the last season, there are some obvious things that we knew were happening in IBC, but right now we have to push them like wheelbarrows, you know. So that has pulled them out of the trust zone. And then number two, the rhetorics of politicians. This is what has fatigued even people, and that is why even turnouts, people don't see the value of even votes. Because when you come to ask for votes from me, the way you are asking, the tone, the tonation of your talks, when you are telling us even about your opponents, the tonations are not things that, actually they are incitements. And we know where incitements have taken this country to.
Quite interesting. But of course, Mr. Mangeni, you are in the Kenya Kwanza group. I don't know how you actually take these elections, and of course, do you believe that the reasons, some of the issues that were actually brought up in the 2017 general election, that is at the presidential level, that actually led to the nullification of the presidential contest, do you think that they were addressed in these 2022 general elections?
Most specifically in 2017, where the stage where we are at now is the stage that was really crucial in nullification. That was the transmission of results.
Yes.
You remember the questions of what was the process. Currently it is happening, and I am really asking IBC, stick to the process. Just follow the process, continue following the process, because that is where the question was. Why did you relay a result before getting this and this and this and this? So right now they have said they will do their best to follow the process. However long it might take, but within the 7 days of having a winner, please follow the process. So currently that's what they're saying, that's what they're doing. However, there's a certain statement that came out from the nullification that when Justice Maraga was saying that an election is a process. So now there are some things that have happened now in the past, things that didn't feature maybe in 2017. I am hoping that those things will not lead to something else, because those are new grounds again. Those are uncharted grounds. And so we are, sometimes, I don't know, for example, when you say voter apathy, IBC does not operate alone. IBC requires a budget. IBC requires laws to help them. What happened? IBC presented some laws back then.
We are coming to tackle that voter apathy, but generally the trust about... Does Kenya Kwanza actually have trust in IBC?
No. Kenya Kwanza, and they have participated in the election in all levels, from presidential to MCA level.
Do you trust in IBC?
Trusting in the institution of IBC.
Yeah. Till now you have trust.
We trust
in
the institution
IBC.
of IBC. We might have questions on interpretations or competencies of issues, but that does not touch on trust of the institution. It is just, it might be competencies of someone here, someone there, but as we are speaking, it is not about trust of the individuals there or IBC as an institution. I think Kenya Kwanza, we are solely behind trusting the institution currently. That does not mean we are not questioning some of the questions. Kim's kit failed in 2013. Kim's kit failed in 2017. Kim's kit again is failing in 2022. That is not, it's a question of serious incompetences.
Back to you, Washington. How do you even trust as a youth leader? Of course, we have had several times, of course, the youths have been engaged in electoral violences when, of course, some electoral malpractices have been mentioned. And of course, this time round, do you believe that IBC has done everything to ensure that there will be no reason to doubt them? And actually, do you think that there's a difference between 2017 general elections and 2022?
Well, Eugene, allow me to say that we really believe that IBC will, the end result will be a credible, verifiable, a very simple election.
Okay.
But just as my colleague here said that we have the trust, and that's why the parties took part into these elections. If we never trusted IBC, I think we would have bolted out of it until our irreducible minimums are addressed. But by the virtue that we already took part in these elections means we have got trust from these people.
Okay.
But that doesn't rule out the idea of small these pilferage negligences, like for instance cancelling or rather postponing of this Kakamega and Mombasa governor elections plus any other constituencies. They had all the time. I think there was to be a reconnaissance which they were to conduct, go to Greece and ensure that whatever is printed is really what they presented. You see, so such things. And I remember when Chebukati, the IBC team, was talking to the media in Bomas of Kenya, there were so many questions which the media raised about the Smartmatic, this company which they procured the billions came from. If you look at the history of these companies, it said that in Venezuela, which they were procured some time back, the election was, the results were not that much appealing. There was some chaos and all that. So these are some of the due diligences which, in as much as IBC never conducted them, because I remember the accounting officer, the CEO, saying that actually that was the first time he was getting such things. Okay. So we have the trust in them, but there are some negligences that we cannot rule out from the IBC. And in 2017 as well, you see the issue of manual and digital register has been a challenge. Today you see the court says, okay, we are going to use manual. UDA appeals again, oh now we are ruling out this manual. So it's been it's much of a cut and wrap thing.
Quite interesting. Mr. Cosmas, are they talking about certain negligence from the IBC? Kim's kits failing to work. We have Mombasa and we also have Kakamega gubernatorial positions. They were not voted because of some issues with the election materials. You look at all these things that happened, even unfolding from the onset of the elections, even before it started. Who is to blame? Is the IBC to blame, or is there any other person or party that should be blamed?
Well, I think the referee here is the IBC. Yes. That is one, and I assume all of us watch soccer. And as the referee, our referee had given us very high hopes, because we are reeling from failures of 2017, 2013, and 2007. Failures that even drove us to war. And this is a team that gave us very high hopes. And as my brother is saying, when you see some ballots coming into the country without proper protocol, and they are busted at the airport, and the people conveying them are non-citizens, without proper clearances. Okay. Sorry for that. I withdrew that. It was election materials. Yeah, election material. So, and when these things are brought by people who do not have clearances, because they are declared as personal property. If this is state property, that introduces some element of doubt. When you come to the issue of that court ruling that was made yesterday, it has also been misread, and it has been used to mislead the public. And I partly blame the media because of that. So by the time this information is coming...
The ruling on the use of manual...
Yes. That ruling was very clear. How clear? It was saying that these Kim's kits, they are the primary sources of information. But now the media house and everyone, they're saying it is the only. Well, if it was the only, today some people would not have voted. Because we have people who cannot, who have been working, manual workers. Your fingertips have been obliterated. So reading is very difficult. So when you look at all these things in totality, and the suspension of elections in areas like Pokot South, the other one I think it was Kachaliba, today Rongai, yesterday Kakamega, yesterday this Mombasa.
Okay.
There is a perception, because politics is all about perception.
Okay.
One side is feeling,
Yes.
why only these areas?
Okay.
So in the eyes of the common man, there is a problem.
And actually,
A very big problem.
This actually begs the question that was there actually, in your own view as an advocate generally, was there adequate administrative arrangement that will ensure that the democracy of Kenyans are not jeopardized in any way?
I think we had time. You know, the common man is asking, for 5 years,
Yes.
we knew there would be elections yesterday. So it is only fair and equitable and just to prepare adequately.
Okay.
And when you conduct a reconnaissance and confirm to the Kenyans, you give them a bill of clean health, the documents are good.
Yes.
But when you come here, others have been sent to another place. It almost appears engineered. It almost appeared engineered. And there is a problem with that.
Well, I'd love us to look at something else, and not quite far from what we have been talking about, and that is actually the voter apathy. People turning out to vote. Of course, we anticipated for a large voter turnout, and of course that was never the case in some places, of course, like Mount Kenya. Let me just start with you, Ndawa. What are some of the reasons that you think that maybe we had voter apathy, we had experienced voter apathy in these general elections, actually?
Well, can I say that staying positive is really good.
Okay.
And I can also do a talk. We can do a talk or a conversation which is so positive. But you see, when things have happened in the past times, and you have not seen them come out the way you want, because look at it this way: we give people apply for the office in IBC, they get the jobs, they get paid the salary they were promised every month. We give them tools to work, and they have everything ready. And you give them 5 years to prepare for an election. Why would a Kim's kit not work? And then if you look at even what my brother is saying, those stations that are not voting today, do you know where they come from? It's the backgrounds of one political party, and it's not spread around between the two leading contenders. They are all in strongholds of one party, and that raises an alarm, because previously a snake has bitten us, and so when we see even a rope on the road, we will know that's a snake.
Okay.
And this we cannot pretend. That's why people are shying away from voting. And then if you look at even the last election, I know of so many friends who said they will never vote again. Some of them I had to convince them, and I tell them the reasons why we just need to have to vote, because also we need to have to put records. So if we stay positive, these guys will keep messing us like forever. When there is anything bad that they do, we need to point it out without saying, oh, things are just going to be okay. You know, I trust them. You cannot trust somebody who is not faithful, whom you have worked with, and every time at the point of his demonstration of faithfulness, he or she is not. So when you go to the next time, in your mind you know that their unfaithfulness is going to be demonstrated again. So this is why the apathy is really big.
And I think this still begs the question whether really IBC was really prepared for these elections. And I just want to ask you this question, Bwana. You see, the issue that, of course, Ndawa has spoken about Kakamega and, of course, Mombasa and, of course, some other areas where we have seen elections have been suspended or postponed to some other later dates, some happening even tomorrow. Do you think that in these various positions, of course, that the gubernatorial positions in Mombasa and Kakamega, and of course National Assembly seats at certain places, do you think that this could be one of the reasons that we never saw a large turnout?
Maybe not really, because maybe they happened today. Okay. And maybe we could have seen already the people there and then they turn away. But it didn't happen that way. But it can affect the numbers because some people are motivated by different candidates in the ballot. And it was unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that it happened. And I was saying that, you know, IBC in terms of preparedness was really affected if we were following, because sometimes Kenyans, we are not following IBC lamentations and we take them as if it's denied. IBC has been lamenting before. They were denied their budget and IBC could not even to go to check on ballot papers printing. Last time IBC took observers, political parties gave members to go and check on ballot printing. This time round, IBC could not. They didn't have a budget for that. They were denied a budget. Our National Assembly and our executive conspired and refused them that budget. Do you know, IBC could not even do voter sensitization this time round. Okay. They didn't do it. IBC did not do voter sensitization. Last time, IBC did thorough voter sensitization. Even this time round, going towards voter registration, IBC could not do sensitization for voter registration. Reason? Budget. That's our National Assembly and our executive. So I think it is important now for Kenyans, we start understanding that it is important for us to go behind the scenes and always remember that election is a process. It begins just when another election ends. So when our election ended in 2017, IBC brought some amendments to Parliament, suggested amendments on our laws. On this issue requiring on identification, voter identification. What did Parliament do? It sat on those amendments. IBC brought several other amendments. Parliament sat on those amendments. Kenyans need also to play their part. We need to play our part. That immediately after an election, when an audit is done on an election, let us now start rectifying what needs to be rectified. Because we depend so much on our politicians, so we are responding only to them when they say it. But when IBC said we have not been given a budget, we were not responding to them.
Quite
so I think that budget issue also played a very big part. In fact, voter sensitization, even registration, we saw what happened. However, then there's this other part also, that IBC, with the staff we are employing at IBC, it's a high time we demand results. You know, people are being paid.
Quite interesting. Well, let's move to the next person. That is Washington. Washington, we're still speaking about voter apathy. What could be the reasons why we have experienced voter apathy? Or is it even a voter apathy to you? And what do you actually think the reasons behind it are? And what are the implications?
Eugene, I think I want to disagree with my brother here when he talks of budget being one of the issues around voter apathy and all that. I remember very well there's a letter which Paul Mwangi addressed to IBC. They say when people went to Greece to oversee the printing of these ballot papers. And that's why there were some that from 34A, 1 or 2 and all that. I remember you guys saw that letter. So the budget for doing the reconnaissance to Greece on this one was done and was provided.
It was only one commissioner of IBC who went. Even Chebukati himself said, I didn't go to Greece. Even that time when Chebukati was saying that I'm just receiving the representative. Yeah, they sent only an IBC official. Normally,
the entire IBC team to go to Greece.
No, last election 2017, IBC
maybe you can get what really the law says exactly on the reconnaissance issue of because there's an issue about the budget from the legislative side, that is the parliament, of course.
Let's rule out the issue of budget on voter apathy. Number 2, it's not the first time Kenyans are voting. So I wonder which sensitization do I still need. That I know Tuesday, 9th of August, is a general election. If I'm a registered voter, do I need IBC to come to my doorstep that, hey, tomorrow go and vote? That's so my civic right.
According to you.
So according to me, there are a number of issues that led to voter apathy. For instance, in Mount Kenya, we all know Mount Kenya in 2013 there was around 89% turnout. 2017 around 80. Today I know they're around 60%. We should be asking ourselves why. Number one, Mount Kenya, remember right now they don't have a presidential contender. You see, there's no anybody from Mount Kenya who is aspiring to be president. This is one of the reasons why they will say, why would I go and vote? At the end of the day, I only have a vice president, a deputy president. Why? Let me do my things. So that, as compared to other regions, for instance, Nyanza, where Raila comes from, you see in Kondaila as early as 3 a.m. people are already in the polling stations because they have got a very vested interest to that presidency, because there's a person from the region who is a presidential candidate who is vying. Number two, the issues to do with the cancellation of this other elective positions. This one can just, if I was to wake up today and go and vote, then I'm told, hey, you know what, we are not going to vote for Governor Nairobi. Believe me, the situation will have been the same. People are like, I wanted to vote and so on. So if the EU election are corner, there's no need.
Okay.
You see, and another thing, I think Kenyans generally are just tired because life is so hard, the cost of living and every other thing. Why would I wake up? Somebody will say, why would I wake up, go and line for over 3 hours while hungry? Just to vote for somebody who doesn't care about me at the end of the day. So these are some of the things you cannot run away from. The issue of cost of living, somebody would rather go and sleep or go to a mjengo. Why would I go spend the entire day in a polling station? Yet then I come back and sleep hungry. Rather than going to a mjengo, I get my 500 bob, I come and balance supper and all that about. So those are, to me, I think those are some of the reasons why we saw voter apathy in some areas. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Wakili, do you actually believe, because as Wesonga said, that there are some issues that could have led maybe IBC to maybe malfunction in certain ways, as we also speak about voter apathy? Does it mean that how is legislative, the legislative part of the government, the executive part of the government, and the judiciary part of the government, how do they work hand in hand with IBC to ensure that they run a free, fair and credible elections, yet they ensure that IEBC still maintains its independence?
Okay, thank you, Coach. Maybe to give it a perspective,
yes,
we have two major laws that talk about elections. One of them is the Elections Act 2011. The other one is the Elections Regulation, I think it's 2016 there. And one of the underlying issue about these provisions is that elections should be free, fair, simple, verifiable and transparent. Those are the words.
Okay.
So whichever model that is used, whichever finances that are used, the model should adhere to those provisions. Now, I don't think the issue of a budget might have hamstrung, strangled IEBC from performing, because the issues that people are complaining about, they're not about finances. There are issues to do with execution. You know, if you have procured this equipment, you want to make sure that they are working.
Yes.
And because there are so many, we assume not everyone can go through all those ballots. You can even do sampling, you know. So the bill we are given was everything is good. It is just you guys coming. And then maybe something I need to point out here as I go now to the issue of apathy.
Yes.
It is not the business of IEBC to mobilize voters to come and vote. That is the work of media houses, civil society, churches, and political parties and aspirants. That is their work. This is a referee. You remember that is how we categorize IEBC.
But still talking about that, sir,
yes.
I remember being sent a text message by IBC.
It is the work, it is part of the written works of IEBC, voter sensitization.
Okay. Maybe to give it a clear perspective, what I mean is it is not solely the work of IEBC to do that. Because there are so many stakeholders to an election. You say that before even election, IEBC would call UDA, it could call the other side, it's as a mayor, to just hear their views. So it is a consultative process that involves all of us.
Okay.
Now when you come to the issue of apathy, two issues arise. And I like what my brother has said. You know, our politics are local.
Okay.
And they are people-based. If our prince, one of us is not contesting, there is an element of apathy.
Okay.
And this apathy began in 2017. We remember there was an election where all contestants were there, but at some point we had an election where a contestant pulled out. That election had fewer attendees than the earlier one. So this, what is happening right now, is an echo of that. But in between this time, a lot of things have been happening. Yesterday and today, especially today, the failure of the KIMS kit, it has drawn some people away, because you go to the station, to the, you can't be, you can't be identified. As the officers are consulting, what do we do about this? Because I hear they had to send an email to the head office to get a response. Someone has already gone away. Now that is another thing. If you look at the campaigning period, campaigning began immediately after the last election. And we had a government which was not a government. A government where you cannot tell who is the opposition, and you cannot tell the other side is headed by the DP that looks like the opposition. The other side that was opposition looks like it is part of the government. So at some point, we lost the voter. We lost the interest of the voter. And towards the end, although we had very good policies, very good ideals for Kenya, the voter had already been lost in an environment of insults, abuses, and personality politics. So the voter went aside. They just became spectators, not participants. So today, what happened today, it's a very big message to the political class and to the future generation.
Yes. Quite interesting. We are speaking about the voter apathy here on the Insight Special Edition. Of course, we are coming to you live from the Good News Broadcasting System headquarters here in Nairobi. And of course, we are looking at the picture of Kenya as it is. That is the political terrain. Of course, we are discussing much of this. And right now, we're talking about the voter apathy and the political issues around it. Of course, we have much, much more for this, but we need to go for a break. Of course, you can text us on 21144. That is our SMS line here on GBS TV. My name is Eugene Kwach, and of course, we are going for a short break, so don't touch that dial.
We desire to serve you with these exciting activities. Join us every Monday to Friday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Wow! Wow!
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome to the Insight Special Edition. Back on where results tallying are ongoing across the country, and of course we will be soon having our leaders. But on this, we still talk about the voter apathy, of course, which was experienced in various places in Kenya. And of course, I'd love to ask you, George Ndawa, talking about voter apathy still, does it reveal some fundamental issues or flaws in the democracy of Kenya? Because actually, talking about voter apathy, it did not just begin today while people voted, but even during registration. There was a time that IBC was expecting a large voter turnout to register, voters to register, but that never happened. The even extended time never happened. Is there anything wrong with our democracy? Is there anything wrong with what actually is the problem? But generally talk about democracy of Kenya.
You know, democracy is not freedom for all. If I can put it to my best understanding, because I have seen democracy only reflect on the scenes, on the provens, and not even on the scenes. You know, if you can, in a democratic space, if you can outwit your opponents by some words and or even if your deeds are not good, but you have nice words and you can put people in a situation so that you can manage them. You see, so democracy is actually not for the weak. Democracy is for the rich. Mm-hmm. And so if we bring democracy into this, it's kind of like a piece of tool to control the populace. Mm-hmm. So that also can wear people out, because you see, if democracy opens the space, and that space, for those who came in first, grabs all the space, and then those who are coming behind. Because in a society, there has to be those who are fast and those who are slow. Mm-hmm. So, but now democracy is only appearing as a perception. But now, if you want to have it applied to all citizenry, it cannot work, because those who ran fast grabbed and ran away with it. So, but also, as you say, the same can be a hindrance to development.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I asked you whether the voter apathy that actually we have, does it actually present maybe flaws in our democracy? And you're talking about democracy being for the rich. How is that so?
You know, a free space that is supposed to be opened for all mm-hmm. is actually not for all.
Okay.
If you look at how even the Kenyan governance is running, mm-hmm. somebody can come from nowhere and is telling you that he had nothing, but in 30 years he's a trillionaire. Mm-hmm. And he has owned not a trillion, 3-4 trillions, okay. because of democracy. And that comes because of the space that he got between the people who ran fast, who took him. So you see, if we talk about the flaws in democracy, the flaws in democracy are so big, because actually democracy is not democratic to all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this has also led to voter apathy, according to you.
Yes.
Okay, quite interesting. Let me go to Wakili direct. Wakili, I want to pose the same question that I asked Ndawa to you, that the voter apathy that actually we are experiencing, because as I said earlier, it's not the first time that we are having an experience of this. It happened during registration of voters, actually, and we saw that there was voter apathy. This is something that actually should concern. But actually my question is that when you look at the voter apathy thing, even during that time of registration of voters, does it actually maybe give us a picture of flaws in the democracy?
One thing we need to know about democracy, and I would say our society has developed democratically. You look at institutions like IEBC, it's independent. You look at political parties, there is plurality. You look at people, they can express themselves in social media, like the way we are doing. But democracy is fluid. It can move ahead and it can move backwards. When it moves backward, it's called democratic backsliding. I'll give a good example. US, during Trump's time, it was hailed as if it had backslidden. So now, when we come to the issue of democracy and apathy, democracy allows parties and politicians to have a platform where they can sell their policies and programs to the people. And one thing I would say as a member of this country, it's a flaw on the part of our politicians. They kind of reduced issues into economy. I don't know whether my colleagues will disagree with me. The issue became an economic question only, such that it is hustler and dynasty. So everything that came along, it was about how to give shilling to the person. But we have so many problems in this country. We have people who don't mind about money. Whether they are poor or rich, they mind about bigger things. So I think the kind of campaigns we have had, they have not spoken to the wider parts of our society. So when it came to registration, and something funny happened, we had, in 2017, we had 19.5 registered voters.
Okay.
In this time, we have 22.1 registered voters.
Yes.
That increase is 2.5, around 2.5 million voters. If you look at this this class, this increment, it is reasonable to say that this might be people who are between 18 and 23 years, people who are youngsters by then. But have these people been taught what democracy entails? Have they been taught on how to look at politicians and their policies, to interrogate, so that they can be in a better position to stand in election? Because if you look at the distribution of voters from our screens today, so many people were elderly. The young, this generation of Gengeton, they were not there. They were not there. And that is a question we need to interrogate.
Quite interesting.
Yeah.
Washington, Cosmas speaks about a critical issue about the youth not understanding quite what democracy entails. Generally, the issues around democracy, they do not even understand their purpose, perhaps in voting. As a youth leader, perhaps maybe what are some of the issues, or what are some of the ways in which you people are using to tackle these issues of the young not understanding their role in the democracy and even the development of this country by going out and voting?
I think, Eugene, we first need to understand what is democracy. Democracy is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Democracy and voter apathy actually they go in hand. Here comes a government where a youth, or rather the common mwananchi, is not given, the politician, the political class is not giving them a reason to go and vote. You see, I want to agree with Wakili when he say our this year politics has been centered around too much of economics. Everybody's talking of economics. How would you talk of an economic empowerment of Pesa Mfukoni and all that, yet a graduate has got no job? A graduate is maybe hawking pencils, the traffic jam. Then at the same time, talk of democracy, expecting the same person who has got no job, he has got a loan with the help, to come out and go and vote for you. You see, so when the youths raise these things and say there's no need here because these are people, they no longer care about us. You see, so that one will bring apathy. Number two, if you look at our regimes, get very old people are being appointed in positions which you deserve. A good example, Mudi Awori, a very old person. Yet we have got very young, energetic, bright graduates and all that who can run the docket accordingly. You see, so even if it comes into distribution of government appointments, the youths, in as much as we form a better percentage of the voting population, still we are not on the menu. We are not on the table. We've been on the menu for a very long time, and we realized that's why there's the time I said this year the youths, we must demand to be.
And I'm asking you, Washington, that of course according to the 2019 census, the youth form 75% of the Kenyan population, which is a very consequential block, be it economically, be it socially, or political. You as a youth leader, actually, you knowing and understanding truly the worth of a youth, what have you guys done to ensure that the youth know their space, not just as voters, but also stakeholders and, of course, the leaders of tomorrow? What are you guys doing when politicians are engaging you people? Are you ensuring that the engagement, is it genuine? What are you guys doing to ensure that you have a genuine engagement with politicians?
Of course, Eugene, you've seen politicians even in these elections. Each and every fraction is really trying to hook the youths to the baskets. You see, you get Azimio saying if elected, there will be forming instead of positions for the youth. The other hand, you see, there will be, I don't know, 50 billion or what. But you see, these politicians, as always, they will promise heaven. But at the end of the day, after they are into those offices, we are disadvantaged. We can no longer bargain anymore because already sitting on the chair. So
now, as youth leaders, understanding your worth too well, knowing your worth too well, if someone who is learned, of course, you are a leader of many other youths who are perhaps illiterate. Not so many of them have gotten an opportunity to go to school, but you finding opportunity, chances with them outside there, educating them of the reasons why they should take actually elections very seriously, the reasons why they should take their country very seriously, because they have a part, a stake, not just as voters, not just to add number of voters, but even as leaders of tomorrow. What have you guys done?
Well, different youth leaders, or rather different youth organizations, have been having different engagement levels with these politicians, most of the top two contenders. We've been seeing, as we have got a youth conference in Nyanza. What the agenda for youth? What do they have for youth? The same thing we see it in Kenya Kwanza and all that. But now the problem is, Eugene, our politicians are liars. You see, we will have a very candid discussion with them before the elections. But believe me, once these guys get there, the next appointment, even you saw the nomination list and all that, a relative of so and so is appointed, a relative of so and so, leaving very well educated youth who can.
Is there anything that a youth can do, or even a youth leader can do, to ensure that these the commitments that these politicians, top politicians, are making to us at the level of campaigns are actually carried out even after elections, that they commit to them even to the end?
Apart from what we were, apart from going to riot, to the streets, we call for mass action. I think we are.
Does that help?
of course, it will be tension, it will be tear gas and all that. The police, very many youths arrested and all that. Actually, that is it. Because how well can we bargain? You cannot bargain from outside.
Okay.
And bargaining from outside means we go to the streets, which has proven futile. Because at the end of the day, we'll be scared, we'll be arrested, we'll be all that. And that's why there's a solution which these people are bringing about the BBI, the institution of the National Youth Commission and all that.
The bottom line of your argument is that the engagement of these politicians, because you've given an example of Kenya Kwanza and Azimio la Umoja,
yes,
which have tried to engage the youth,
yes,
in different ways. You think, look at these engagements, and you think that these engagements between the Azimio la Umoja, Kenya Kwanza, and the youth are not actually genuine?
I think these are just people trying to use the youth votes as a scapegoat, because at the end of the day, it's our vote they need. Okay. After that, it will be struggles all over.
Both camps, right?
Of course, both camps, because we've seen these people promising heaven, but at the end of the day, they deliver hell to us. Yeah.
Okay, perhaps that is one of the reasons that could have led to voter apathy, and of course, but going forward, I wonder what you will do to ensure that the youth really understand how consequential they are in the elections, and of course, to ensure that we have a better country. But that is a conversation we're going to have. Okay. Let me go back to you, Mangeni. Washington Onyango actually giving a point earlier said that there's actually a voter apathy in Mount Kenya, and the people from Mount Kenya, they did not come out to vote as they have done in the previous electoral cycles. And so the question is, actually, you look at it, because he says that one of the most critical reasons is that because there was none of them running for presidency. But you look at the top presidential contenders, have given them both a DP slot. Is this inconsequential still? Them being given a number 2 position in the government?
So that I'm not unfair to Mount Kenya, I think voter apathy has been experienced maybe all over the country, because we are around at 60% all over the country, and maybe even Mount Kenya has outperformed many other regions. Maybe I think even maybe they are amongst the second region in voter turnout. They could be, and that is but as you say, there are many several factors. Yes, to them I don't know, because someone will have to do a research on that and find out. But yes, it could be, because having a presidential candidate sometimes woos people to vote. But also, we have seen the choice in the previous election, having a deputy presidential candidate also in a ticket. We have seen it has always been based on mobilization. So I will not want to say that argument, but maybe it is important, maybe a study done, maybe after elections, so we understand better, because you will see why Raila Odinga will choose Kalonzo and will believe Kalonzo will deliver some votes. The same would happen that if I bring someone in my coalition, it is because he will woo some votes. But it is unique this time round, but it is almost all over the country, because the whole voter turnout might be at around 60%, which is maybe 15 or 10% below the 2017 one. Okay. And but I still insist, election is a process. There are many things that led us to here. If it is about young people,
before we go to young people, actually, still on the Mount Kenya issue.
Yes.
Of course, we have talked about the DP slot. Asking you a question, very critical question to them, because we have seen Mount Kenya region in the previous electoral cycle. They have come out in large numbers and voted, because their sons have always been on the ballot.
Yes.
Which is not the case this time. Another question, of course, that begs the question that the deputy president, that is William Samoei Ruto, has banked large
been done. You have asked, for example, the youth leader, Washington, and you are asking them, youth should know that they're very important in the election. Why are they not feeling that they're important? No one should lie to you. You need to be educated on citizenry. We stopped being educated in citizenry. Our adults, our elders in the previous education systems previously, they used to be trained on civic duty. Right now, our generation is concentrating not on, they care less about civic duty, and this is not happening only in Kenya. It is happening in Africa. It is happening in the rest of the world, in those developed so-called economies. They are facing serious low youth turnout in the elections, serious ones, to even as low as 10% in countries in Europe. Young people don't go to vote. Basically because the economists started focusing on something else and forgot that we need to educate these people the importance of always participating in civic duty. And that's why I say it was wrong when we decided to go for voter registration and didn't mind that we have not delivered ID cards to many young people who are out of school, but because of the issue of exam calendar in schools, they could not register for IDs earlier. And then we just dropped a registration in the middle, and no one at that time, we could not even see participation of administration saying that we are now giving these IDs out, please quickly so that you can do that. Those are things we did that were wrong. And we had IBC saying, we have not been given money for 2 voter registrations. We have been given only for 1. We will not afford another one. You are on your own if you don't do it. Things happened. I have in my area, I saw it, young people who have just acquired IDs now at that time, but they're acquiring it very late before. These things we underestimated. Government did not pay attention that these young people are important in participating in elections. The same thing happening in these elections. Politicians, to some politicians, voter turnout helps them. If it's low, maybe it helps him. You know, so politicians will always mobilize what is good for him at that time or her at that time. But IBC has a very important duty, together with civil societies, to mobilize all Kenyans to participate in this process. Failure for IBC to do that will be questioned and will played a part in this. And when the others were saying about the economic discussions being on the table, I don't think it's wrong, because all elections, Kenyans are asking about food on the table and want politicians to address the issues of economy. And therefore, maybe we did not make Kenyans, politicians did not make Kenyans feel that they have a solution. And it's important maybe messaging, how to do the messaging to citizenry comes out strongly so that people participate. However, I will not just blame young people, because I don't know if it's only young people who did not turn out to vote today. In my area, I saw very young people, first-time voters. I saw them even participating as agents for the very other politicians in my area, in Mathare constituency. And I applaud those young people. I wish many others would emulate them and follow. I would wish politicians would embrace young people and give them responsibilities, serious responsibilities in leadership, and train them, mentor them in leadership. It's high time the older generation of politicians start mentoring young leaders. We need to go back to our universities. We need to see university students being as active as we would want them to be. Because as we are speaking, how university students' councils used to be managed is not how it is being managed today. There was changes that happened in their laws. In my days, I was trained good leadership skills in those days, because I was able to do mobilizations. I was able to do lobbying. And I learned through the open spaces that were available in university then. Right now, it is like they are not there. So maybe many things are being done in institutions and outside institutions that are leading us to where we are today. However, we will still blame our outgoing government, because citizens are maybe telling the government, we feel like government does not work for citizens, so we don't want to go and participate in choosing a government. Maybe this is a statement they're telling. So it's important for Uhuru Kenyatta to realize that maybe citizens are saying, President, according to us, it's like government is for you and others. It's no longer for people and by people.
Quite interesting. Mr. George Ndawa, Mangeni is bringing quite a very important point when he talks about the Duale Bill 2016 that actually introduced the the college system of voting, that is at the university, at the university level. And just to ask you, of course I know that time you were out of the university, but do you think that having such an electoral system of voting at the university maybe could be one of the reasons why the young people do not understand the importance of voting? Because the university, what they experience there is a delegates who choose the leaders, and they're not actually involved in on one. And do you actually think, because actually you are a senior citizen, do you actually believe that the engagement of the politicians, that is of the youth, the politicians engaging the youth, is it actually genuine? And what can we actually do to ensure that in the future there is a genuine engagement between the politicians and the youth, not just you as a number of voters, to add number of voters, but genuine to ensure that they are nurtured and inspired to be leaders of tomorrow? Because actually I believe that the nationhood of Kenya depends on the youth of today. What do you actually think, of course, and even as you touch on the Duale Bill of 2016, which ensured that we had a different voting system at the university level?
Eugene, that law took us back more years than we ever knew. Mm-hmm. I've discussed that with several university students, and I think the introduction of that law was trying to take Kenya back into the dictatorial regime. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe it was a plan that could be, even if they get the presidency, they could bring Kenya back to dictatorial regime. Mm-hmm. Because university students played a major role of even during the struggle to relieve Kenya from the Moi regime. Mm-hmm. And so their agitations or their participation in the freedom space to free a country from a kind of colonial system, mm-hmm, was very good and made it possible even for the current politicians then to get the strength, mm-hmm, to bring Kenya to where it is today. Okay. If they were not there, we won't, I'm very sure we won't be here today. Mm-hmm. Students, mm-hmm, I mean the youth, youth participation in politics is a bit misplaced, mm-hmm, to me. Okay. This is the thing. Mm-hmm. The authors of Tribalism, mm-hmm, they made sure that they separated major tribes that were active in politics, which was the Luos and the Kikuyus. Mm-hmm. After that separations, these people never met eye to eye. Mm-hmm. And the gap between them kept building at every electioneering time. Mm-hmm. Each tribe, mm-hmm, on her side, mm-hmm, tried to bring more tribes behind them so that they can muzzle the other. Mm-hmm. Now the authors of, the same authors of Tribalism, mm-hmm, they left some students behind. Okay. The students that they left behind, mm-hmm, are now very busy subdividing Kenyans into segments. Mm-hmm. They have brought even the women, mm-hmm, to be separated from the men, okay, or from the society, so that now we have women, mm-hmm, a role of women, and a role of, now we have a role of youth. Mm-hmm. This is just to blindfold people, because if we were practicing democracy, which is for the people, mm-hmm, and by the people, mm-hmm, of the people, yes, division of spaces in the government offices or opportunities for the young people would be automatic, such that you don't have to be a youth for you to get there. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Yes. So in actual sense, mm-hmm, we are getting into deeper waters, mm-hmm, where we are not only just going to be tribalistic, we will be also divided into thematic areas such that at some point even professionals will be divided from non-professionals. Because right now we have divided the youth from the society, we have divided the women from the society. We are also dividing the rich from the poor, or the poor from the rich, so that we are telling them, you see, the bad guys are these ones, so we need to fight them. Why can't we live as a society where you come out of college and your credentials can give you opportunities without running after a politician so that you can get a chance? You see, so my problem is actually why we are dividing the society into this. One time you will hear now they will divide teachers from parents. They will these students of divisions or of divisive politics, they are very cunning and crafty, because what they are gaining from these divisions is so huge, and nobody, for those of us who are running behind them, we are not seeing where we are headed to, but they are going to, at some point, they are going to throw us in a big pit where we won't be able to come out.
Okay. And actually, you've talked about the role of women and actually the youth. You've brought that up in this conversation. And of course, this just begs the question that which kind of, which bloc or what people, what group were more excited in this election? Which people actually were more excited in this election? Is it the old? Is it the young? That is the youth? Is it women? Which people generally were more excited in these elections? And what could have made them more excited in this election than any other group? That is according to you, Wakili.
I'll be very straightforward. The people who are excited, they were the elites.
Okay.
And in the elite is a group of people who control all this, who machinate what my brother has eloquently stated, the divisions. Once you divide people, they generate agendas. Like there is an agenda for youths. We will have divisions among youths. So by the time we cannot even mobilize to come and fight together. So it is the elite that benefit because they sit somewhere. They say this is how we are going to demarcate this area. This is how we are going to campaign. This is how we are going to harvest this basket of voters. And allow me to say something, because we were talking about apathy. It's all leading to apathy. If you look at our politics clearly, and especially in Central, there is a theory called game theory. Game theory is a theory used by economists and political scientists, where before you make a move, you look at your opponent. If you look at how the deputies were being appointed, one side was looking at the other side before making a move. And once this side noticed that the other side has taken someone from Central, they had no option than to take someone from Central. I'm talking about the two big fishes. Now, when it came to elections, you know, the person in Central is saying the two big fishes already have representatives from Central. Whether our side wins or our side loses, Central is already in the government. So why should we vote? Are you getting that?
Yes.
As opposed to a situation where we only have one person, deputy from Central, the other deputies from maybe Rift Valley. People from Central would have turned up in huge numbers because it is at stake. If they win, we lose. But here, we already have people from Central. And using the same theory, the other communities, and I like what my brother has said, there are two communities in this country. We cannot ignore them. The Luo and the Kikuyu. Our politics is very tribal. And it's arranged within that line. The Luo have elites who are learned. They can speak. The Kikuyu have elites who are moneyed. They have businesses. So when the other side, for the Luo, they have to come out because one of their princes is in the ballot. For the Kikuyus, we already have 2 people there. Either way, we will have someone. So they sat back. The other communities were looking at these changes because it is being televised live. Turnout in Central is very low. Then tukae chini. So I think these issues, when they are interrogated bit by bit, they explain this issue of apathy.
Don't you think that perhaps when they looked at both the deputy presidential contenders, of course, we have Rigathi Gachagua and Martha Karua, perhaps maybe some people were just looking at them and saying, no, I want Martha Karua because of this and this and this, and that is why I have to vote. Do you think that they were just looking at them as merely people from Mount Kenya and that was it?
Okay, to answer that question, you have seen several situations where people are saying, hata kama ni mwizi, huyu ni mwizi wetu. You've heard that.
Yes.
So the communities don't care whether it is our good son or our bad son there. As long as our son or daughter is in that table, it's okay. So for them, it was like that. Yes.
Very good statement in his analysis of game theory. Yeah? Could it, because since voter apathy has happened all over the country, so in Central Kenya, that could be the reason that why vote. By the way, remember, the president spoke the last person to the Central people, Kenya. And unfortunately, he did not excite them to go and vote. He simply made it like a usual thing, man. I mean, guys, and maybe they sat and said, okay, instead of me going and voting against the other one, one of them will be there. We will be with that person. And what if the other regions felt like they are not appreciated? What if they felt like okay, then why these 2 front runners decide to go to one backyard and behave as if the rest of us don't exist? So should we really be excited to go? If the other people are more important and they cannot turn out, should we be excited? So maybe in the game theory analysis, that could also have played in the other areas. And this is important for these political elites, so-called elites, who somehow maneuver our politics and try to manage us between tribes and all that stuff. It's important they appreciate Kenya is for all. You know, Kenya is for all. And when the conversation comes, it should not be boxed to one place. So I think maybe in this game theory thing, it could have.
And Mangeni, I just want to pose this question to you, if maybe none from the Azimio has done so, because actually there was a conversation to bring in BBI that actually was to ensure that we just not only have, actually if we had BBI, we would not be talking about a deputy from the Mount Kenya backyard, but of course different positions which will have ensured that we have an inclusive government should it be formed. Like if we had Kambas as prime minister, or maybe lawyers had a position, or these are the major tribes, or maybe they could have seen how they could have done it through BBI. Don't you think that maybe...
No, what is important, an inclusive government is not because every face, every tribe of Kenya is named in that government. An inclusive government know that.
And how do
an inclusive government, I think this is the way
you just talked about tribes.
Yes, Joe was saying something about how elites shape us.
Yes.
And they've been shaping us since 1967, after the breakup of the two.
Yes.
They started initiating these discussions that if I'm not there, you're not there. All of you are not there. So now you become automatic. If he is not there, we are not there. So even Tomboya was in government, but because of Ginga is out, you all believe we are not there. Kibaki was in government in Moi, but the whole Kikuyu nation was believing they are not in government. That's an elitist way of how they won the hearts of the masses. But my point about it is the discourse. That discourse was not good. That discourse touched other places. They were discussing it publicly. They were discussing the running mate importance publicly. And instead, they made it look as if it can only come from one place. Sometimes it is important to have some decency in how you discuss and make others feel they're part of the discourse. You know, what they have put in their plans touches every region. But however, the way the attitude you portray towards a region, well, I would want to choose him, but the attitude I portray while choosing him might make him feel bad or good. So it is always important, the posture. And I think in the political posture, there was something wrong when they were doing the deputy presidential choices. They did a posture that was not good. Yes, I cannot say they did wrong choices. They did maybe right choices, but posturing was not good. And something else that maybe could have played also voter apathy. Political party nominations. It is possible that we have wrong MCA candidates, wrong MP candidates, senator candidates. Do you know, in some areas, we didn't have the right, no political parties didn't conduct, even pretend to conduct a nomination. And do you know, those areas are also stronghold areas of these presidential candidates. These presidential candidates need to know, locals, they get associated with the nearest person to them. So when we go for political party nominations and you handle them the way they were handled, whereby from top where you are in Nairobi, you declare someone in my village, a rural village in Funyula, in Bunandi area, you tell me there's someone, that is the person. Just know that I might decide not to appear in my polling station so that people don't say I didn't vote for that guy. So so that I don't look like I didn't vote for this guy, I just don't appear. That candidates from MCA, MP, Senator, especially MCA and MP, these are very important people, they're very close. These people decide for you to go. I was a candidate I was an aspirant in Madare constituency. Do you know, today while I was walking around and sort of checking around how it is, some people bluntly told me, I registered because you were there. I have no reason to go there. And you will tell them, my friend, it is beyond me, but they don't understand that anymore. And I realized it worked. Even some will tell me, you guys denied my MCA a ticket. Go and vote for yourselves. Parties need to learn something from this. And you will see all strongholds, because it has happened, the apathy is all over Kenya. It's important that political parties go back and understand that if they don't treat those political parties as serious democratic institutions, one day they'll vote, their families will be the ones who will be in the queue voting. And so the politician who will win will be the one who has many wives and many children. So be careful, Halwale might end up being a president.
Quite an interesting conversation, of course, we're having here in the Inside Special Edition. Talking to these four gentlemen and looking at the decision 2022 through their eyes. They have different opinions to voter apathy and issues that are surrounding the succession politics of 2022. Of course, it is on the 9th of August, some few hours after the polling stations actually were closed. And we're waiting for the official results. Who will lead? Who will be the president of Kenya? What kind of leaders will we be having? And of course, there are so many questions that we are asking on the Inside tonight, just surrounding the decision 2022. There are a lot of issues that are coming out, but one of them is about the voter apathy. Why leaders, why people actually did not come out in large numbers to vote? Well, of course, when we come back to the show, I'll quite want to understand and know whether the Rift Valley people or even the Luo came out in large numbers to vote. Of course, there is a question that we're going to tackle here tonight before you go to sleep. Well, we're going for a short break. You can follow us on at GBS TV Africa, at Eugene Chinkwach, and all social media handles. Of course, 21144 is our SMS line, and follow us there too. We go for a short break, but we'll be right back.
looking to be entertained and educated at the same time, well, say no more. My name is Del Singanga and I will be your host for the Youth Hub, the show that gets your groove on.
And I'm Rachel Gambo, the boss.
Here at Youth Hub, we bring you fun guests, interesting topics, and play interesting games.
Lazima fit in, and you're like, you belong there.
Sisi tunaishi pamoja, sasa inaweza kutrust, sasa uendi nje.
Multiple, eh?
Oh my God, that one moment I was in love.
Kuna mahali mzazi yenyewe anakujua in this way, and you also know yourself in the other way.
Oh, sikata sikadumi.
So Nikki, sema nakupe. Remove a cash prize, fab on the go. Money get low.
Wanna play a game? Are you ready? Well. Never have I ever.
Well, we work on the insight, and of course we are back with more. The insight we are here to discuss and elucidate much on political issues. Of course, as you have made your decision 2022, we are here to take you through some of the happenings around the political terrain. And of course, I still have my guests here tonight. And gentlemen, I want us to move on a certain issue, which is a bit critical. Of course, on the same issue about elections still, but there has been a notion that the top presidential contenders, that is, of course, Raila Odinga and, of course, Ruto, will be maintaining their voting basis. And when we say that Ruto, having been voted in a ticket together with Uhuru in 2017 and 2013, will he maintain the Mount Kenya votes? And of course the Rift Valley, or other those people who voted for them. Will Raila Odinga maintain the basis that have actually voted for him in those other years that he has been contesting for the presidency? I don't know what you think about this. Let me just start with you, Ndawa. Maybe you can tell us what you think about it generally, about the notion of these top presidential contenders maintaining their voting base.
So, if I look at the generations that are coming in politics right now, many of them don't even know the history of where we come from, and they don't even care about it. So what they are looking at is what is it for me now? Because the governance has made people so poor that other histories don't really matter. These are the things that we are caring about. Like for those who saw Moi regime and maybe the first Kenyatta regime, they would feel like history. We are making progress in history, and we need to educate in history more so that we can get to the best of what we really need. But then it doesn't add any value to the current generation, because they have no idea what that is. There are some who they only saw a bit of Moi. They don't even know much of Moi. They saw a bit of Moi, and they just know Kibaki and Uhuru now. So for them, what they care about is, since I left my education, what am I having? And my country can't offer me anything, any opportunity, not even really giving you a job direct, but an opportunity where you can thrive even without looking for an uncle or a friend of a friend who can give you a job somewhere. So this makes it very hard for Raila and even Ruto for that matter to get their blocks as far as it would have been during those days, and that is going to affect them in a good way. So their option would be, how would the next person in line, whoever gets into the office, if such a person can create an environment where, number one, there is no corruption, where, number two, there is no favoritism, then Kenya is going to go to a direction where politics will be meaningful to people.
Well, that is the kind of, you're talking about the youths who are voting for the first time, right?
Not only for the first time. There are some that might have voted, but they don't know the history. So the blocks don't mean anything to them.
Okay, according to what you have said, Raila and Ruto may not maintain their traditional voting basis because some of them do not understand history.
Actually, I can withdraw Ruto from that, because actually Ruto doesn't have a block. He doesn't have a block. He had never vied for presidency to prove that he has a block anywhere.
But actually,
all that he's been doing.
He had contested with Uhuru in 2013 and 2017, so we believe that was
that's not his block. That's not his block, because number one, if we look at the votes that came from, if you call it a block, from Ruto's side to Uhuru's side, it was actually 1.5 million. So if that's a block, it will be.
And though you're talking about the people that people will want to vote for, the youths will want to vote for, are people who will bring no favoritism. That is what you're talking about. People who will bring good governance in this country. That is what we're talking about the new youths that are going to vote.
Yeah. What I'm saying is,
yes,
if we get a government that is not going to have any favoritism, a government that will stop, because those are the major things that bring the issues that we have today, a government that will stop corruption, that government will not just have a block, but people will love that government across the country.
Quite interesting.
So if we talk about maintaining blocks, it's only Raila that we can say can maintain a block, because there is no other contender with him that has any block that is historic.
A traditional.
Yeah, there is no traditional block for Ruto. There is no other person for Wajakoya, for Wahiga. So Raila will lose it in this sense. In case he gets into presidency and continues with the trend, then he's going to lose it, because those people's stomachs will be empty every day.
Okay.
So they won't care whether you are in office or not, whether you come from his village or not. The fact that he's hungry, he needs food. He doesn't need presidency.
Okay. Washington, do you think that actually we are expecting a shift in the traditional voting basis, that is for Raila Odinga, or even, let me just use Ruto still, because they had contested alongside Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, believing so much that Mount Kenya was of course, on Ruto's side. Actually, for quite a long time, most of people from Mount Kenya, those who are vying or contesting for various seats, have used UDA. Therefore, we believe in all ways that UDA has got roots in Mount Kenya, largely. What do you think about it,
I think Eugene, in Kenyan history, the only person with the voting bloc is Raila Amolo Odinga, and maybe with President Uhuru Kenyatta. The rest, people like William Ruto, see, it was a joint ticket, rather a joint ticket, let me say so. in 2017, if you've been looking at the trends, if you've been studying the mathematical trends of our past elections, you'll always get Raila Amolo Odinga is ever 44%. In 2017, he had 44%, 2013, 44%, 2007, it was 44%. Meaning, his voting bloc is still there. Take a look at 2017, the 44%, Kalonzo was 8, right? This year, Kalonzo is still on the other side, meaning we've not, even if there's a shift in terms of numbers, it's not that huge. If you take a look at the other side, it was a joint ticket of Uhuru and Ruto. As we speak, the two are on conflicting sides. You see, there are loyalists of Uhuru who will, even if Uhuru says today that this is a jerry can, they will say, okay, that is a jerry can. They can't, they can't oppose it. If Uhuru says that this is a thermos flask, they say, okay, that is a thermos flask. You see, so there are people who are still ardent loyalists of Uhuru Kenyatta. Whatever Uhuru Kenyatta says, that's the direction they will go. And the other side also, there are people, when Ruto says this, that's where they will go. So, ideally, there's a, if Ruto has got a traditional background, he has already lost, because see, in 2017 they were with, 2013 and 2017 they were with Uhuru. Right now, Uhuru is deeply rooting for another person, different from William Ruto. So, of course, there's a shift, but to me, I think the shift will be more advantageous to Raila Amolo Odinga's side, because now you see the loyalist of Uhuru Kenyatta will now support Raila Amolo Odinga on this side. Apart from that also, if you look at other elections, right now we have got Azimio. Azimio brings together over 25 political parties. And if you look at these 25 different political parties, all of them are, each and every region has got a representation into the Azimio la Umoja, meaning there's some additions into the baskets of Raila Amolo Odinga as compared to UDA.
Yes, quite interesting, Washington Onyango. Actually, there's some news coming in about police asking a member of parliament, Didmas Baraza, to surrender after DAP Kenya candidate Brian Kahemba's aide shot dead. Well, those are some of the things that are happening. There is Bungoma County police officers have launched investigations into an incident where Kimilili MP Didmas Baraza allegedly shot and killed one of his opponent's aide. Well, there are some of the things that are happening actually because it's the season of elections, but actually we are asking you to maintain calm even as we are waiting for the streaming of results. We don't know what that means actually, but still on this issue that you're talking about, you're talking about, Washington actually says that Raila has maintained 44%, 2007, 2013, and 2017.
Yes.
Therefore, he believes in all ways that Raila has maintained his traditional voting bloc.
Yes.
But actually, there are issues that we have to look at. In 2013, 2017, 2007, there were those people that he was with.
Yes.
He is no longer with them, some of them.
So that,
yes, he is no longer with some of them. Of course, he has gained some people. I don't know how this is going to play along, and so that, because you believe actually in a Raila presidency. That is what you believe in, right?
Eugene, that is it. That is what I'm telling you. Even if you see, there's a time Mudavadi ran for president, and he struggled to garner some few votes. You see, and right now, even they were given a target of 70% that if they deliver, which is very unrealistic mathematically. It is suicide. It is like so. To me, I would say that the voting bloc for Raila Amolo Odinga, if things to go by, it has actually, we will maintain the 44%, then garner from the agglomeration political parties and from the president's side, the loyalists of president to this side, because Mudavadi and Wetangula, those are a drop of an ocean. There's like a drop in an ocean. So there won't be any much change in the litmus paper with their shift to Kenya Kwanza side. So I still believe that ODM, or rather the Azimio, will still beat them once down in Western and the entire Western. And,
Osonga, you are actually...
I'm not because he's saying that there are drop of water, but you know,
yes,
in science, you put a litmus paper there, just a drop will create some effect. So they always, even if it's a drop,
actually, Washington believes in a Raila president.
The thing is, this drop will not be much.
Washington believes that Raila will maintain his 44%,
yes,
and even Ghana more. I don't know what you think about this, and of course, generally, you look at all the issues that we have been talking about, the be it voter apathy and every other thing. How is this going to change the elections that we're talking about? Because actually, this is unprecedented, quite like we had seen earlier on in the other previous elections. What do we expect actually, and how is this going to change or work around the tyranny of numbers?
It could be right or it could be wrong. It's just a matter of hours that will confirm that.
Okay, yes.
Because now we are past the time of...
Okay. Do you believe Raila is going to win? Do you believe William Ruto is going to win?
No, I believe in, according to the statistics that we had put on table, we believe if all things go well, and up to now we think everything is going well, we believe that we will emerge the winners.
Which statistics?
And the Kenya Kwanza statistics. Kenya Kwanza statistics.
Mathematically, as we're speaking today.
Which mathematics now?
I wonder what the pollsters use, but anyway.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Kenya Kwanza statistics. We have put on table. We are not going to the election without statistics.
Okay, sure.
If you have gone without, then you will be in for a rude shock. But we have gone with the statistics, and we believe if all goes well as we believe it is going, then William Ruto should emerge as the winner. However, and I've said it's no longer an issue of my wish. It's now Kenyans have already voted. Okay. Some are still voting. They'll be voting maybe others tomorrow, and we are in a position...
But not for the presidential.
No, presidential, we have a constituency that did not vote. We have a constituency that did not vote. I think it's El Damas, where there was some serious security issues, and so they did not vote. They must vote. Yes. You cannot declare without them voting, unless their vote is not...
They will vote more.
But what I wanted to say is that this election will be interesting. This election somehow shifted the conversation.
Yes.
And if you followed Deputy President from the beginning, from late before the days of BBI, he started saying he will run on a different platform. He will not call leaders to negotiate with him in terms of how tribes will react in his government. And he said he will want to drive a platform campaign. And we owe it to him. He stuck to it. We tried to tell him he does not understand it. He stuck it to it.
But actually, this is the question, because when he started, he said that he does not need village headmen. Village heads to form a coalition with. Yes. And actually, he was not going to form any coalition. Yes. That is what he said. But later on, we see him denying Mount Kenya, some parties from Mount Kenya to form a coalition with him. But later on, when he forms a coalition with Ford Kenya and of course ANC, then of course he later allows Moses Kuri and even Tujibebe to join in the coalition. Of course, we had the Service Party joining later. Yes. Did he really even stick to his initial plan of having the UDA alone? I wonder if that...
No, William Ruto is going on a ticket of UDA. He stuck to that.
Yeah, of course he did.
Yeah, that is what he was talking about.
Okay. So
that he will drive UDA party. He will form government with UDA party. That's what he's done.
Okay.
That is what is happening.
Mangere, I know this is hypothesis, but if...
Eugene, on that,
yes,
let me tell you that any strong supporter of UDA will never give you an answer on that. Okay, because when the president was meeting Mudavadi and Wetangulas, those are the people that were the village headmen. So when they changed and came on this side, so now they were numbers. So we know how they talk, and you know.
I don't know. Your village head, we still insist. UDA will not form coalition with the village elder. Mudavadi is a national leader. Wetangula is a national leader. What might be surprising is he's a national leader. He's a national leader. Wetangula has been in the leadership of this country since 90s. With Ford Kenya was the major opposition party.
Let me also give Cosmas a chance maybe to delve into this issue. You've heard what Ndawa and of course the others like Mangini have talked about Washington. You've heard what they've talked about critically about the Raila Odinga and of course and Ruto maintaining their bases. Is this true? We look at also the voter apathy factor, we bring it. And of course we have seen the political terrain. There are a lot of things that have actually changed. We have seen some technological forces. A lot of things have actually changed in 2022. How is this going to actually affect the results? What do you think actually from where you sit?
Okay, I will begin by presenting evidence. If you look at the DP going to vote today, and the DP, the current DP,
yes,
and Raila Amolo Odinga going to vote, there is a very huge contrast. For Raila, so many people were accompanying him. At some point, that brought a lot of trouble, that he was campaigning. If you look at a place like Kisumu, Leo Nyanza, there was a program, actually it was a national program, Firimbi movement, something like that. These are people mobilizing themselves. You see some people lining up to vote. Some of them have, was it a towel?
Yes.
So from that area. You see that is passion. So when we come to voting blocks, I would like to come up with two concepts. One concept is in a voting block you have loyal people, loyalists. These loyalists, you can obtain them organically, where people just love you naturally. And I would say for Raila, in a place like Luo Nyanza and some pockets of the country, there is that organic love, organic loyalty. For Ruto, I would say the same thing in the respect of places like North Rift. The people who love him, kabisa. But now, when we look at Ruto vis-a-vis Central, that is a block we would call artificial loyalist. Where they are voting for him or they are rooting for him because of Uhuru factor.
Okay.
So now, for the organic bloc, you don't need to convince them, you just need to consolidate. And that is what Raila has been doing. Ruto is the same in respect of North Rift. But in respect of artificial loyalists, you always have to please them. That explains why Ruto has gone to Central Province around 700 times. Compared to the times he has gone to Rift Valley, very few. But now the thing is a presence equal to conversion? Because we have seen there is apathy, especially in Central. And in my idea, I would say that block in Central is artificial. He has not gotten it the way anyone would expect. I would expect he would get 90% of Central. And I'm sure even at the counting stage, I doubt whether he will have that. Whatever Raila needed to do in that block was just to get in, dilute some votes.
Cause confusion.
Yes, that is all what he needed to do in Central. So the issue of loyalists and blocks, if it is an organic block of loyalists, people who love you for who you are, they will stand with you. You only need to consolidate them.
And do you believe Raila has that?
I believe both have that. Raila in Luo Nyanza and pockets of Kenya. For Ruto, predominantly in Rift Valley, North Rift, but not in Central. Not in Central.
Quite interesting when you talk about such organic, you call it organic?
Organic loyalists.
Organic loyalists.
Yes.
Quite interesting. Well, I want us to shift actually on another issue before we end this conversation. Of course, as we started the election, there was something, actually a subject that was conspicuously brought out by not one, twice, but so many politicians, in the mouth of many politicians. It was also discussed by several times, not just once, and that is about the system. When we talk about the system, we have now cast our vote. And of course, I'd love us to maybe just do a post-mortem generally on what we think, actually, or this system that, of course, was being talked about so much. Actually, at Chatham House, sometimes while the deputy president was there, he actually mentioned that there was a plan by the system to maybe favor Raila in these elections. Of course, there's new candidates. I don't know how you look at it. Of course, later on, we see the president himself believing, actually, saying that they have full trust on IBC. I don't know what changed, actually. But talking about the system, this thing that actually was being talked about so much in the mouths of the Kenya Kwanza group. And this is not even the first time even being talked about by the Kenya Kwanza. We also had it years back when the ODM supporters used to talk about the system. You look at, let me start with you, Ndawa. What do you think about this system right now?
Eugene,
how has system played out?
Eugene, that's a conversation we need to deeply exhaust.
Yes.
Because as for me, I've supported Raila since he began a quest for State House. Mm-hmm. And all the times, that's what Raila have been talking about. Mm-hmm. Even when DP Ruto's camp enjoyed the same, mm-hmm. and when Raila was still talking about it, they were saying nothing like that. Mm-hmm. And surprisingly, in this election, at some point you would think that they are the spokesmen of IEBC at some point in the campaigns, that they could trash everything Raila was saying. And you know, the consistency of Raila's talk during the elections has been even up to this time when people are saying that Raila is in government. So I would like them, or there should be a system where they can be brought into book to speak to us about what they know about the system. Because like for us in ODM and now Azimio, we don't have an idea that there is a system that does this. Because all the times we have talked about it, they have said no, there isn't. And at some point, Kuria, the MP Gatundu, he said that in one of the rallies that all the people that were stealing for all the votes are on this side. So we don't know where they are going to get the votes. You see, so we want, I would really like to have, even if it's a commission of inquiry, to help us unearth these things that they have in their hearts, so that we can know. Because for us, we tried to talk because we thought that there is a system, but we realized that there wasn't, because of what Ruto and his team used to tell us when they were still in the government. So now that they are in, we would like them to tell us what they did in 2013 and what they did in 2017, because do you know that we are still waiting for the server to be opened today? Okay. Because we don't know how what the system did in the server.
Okay, interesting. Washington, the system, what do you understand about this system? Mentioning system in 2013, 2017 system, and of course I'll also give an opportunity to Mangeni, who is now talking about system, but of course there'll be
there is no system in Kenya. Those are just but imaginary beliefs that there's something called system. I think if there is something that you should not trust in this world, is that statement called system. Remember this by-election for Kiamba? It was, system. You saw what happened. You see. So what these guys fear is that if they see, there's a method that says mkuki kwa nguruwe, but kwa binadamu uchungu. You see. In 2017, these people are using police to suppress, to harass and all that, the chiefs and all that. now in 2022, when the same things are being done to Azimio, there's no system or what and all that. So I, personally, I believe there is no system, and Raila Amolo Odinga's win is going to be free and fair without the support of the system. If everything is to go by, then the system needs Raila, but Raila doesn't need the system. So a time like this, next week, my brother will be...
Okay, he's just talking about not having the system, but even some of the insiders have talked about having systems. And of course, the system involves even international communities. I believe Cosmas, you're going to talk about that, but let me give an ardent supporter of Kenya Kwanza to tell us what he thinks, because actually the deputy president mentioned that. You cannot say that there is no system. He said that unless you do not believe what he says.
You are only saying what you believe you heard him saying. No, you are not really quoting him.
Okay.
I think in Kenya we have started, we call it system or deep state, but in America it's called establishment.
Okay.
You go to South Africa, it's called establishment, you know.
Do you think it has an hand?
Establishments or systems or deep states are always exist in all governments. These are people with interests, and they are always interested in who is governing.
Okay.
However, how far they can go in doing things is something else. And in every election, we'll always have a candidate who looks like pro-system. And when it's like pro-system, and the system love him, or it's the darling of the system, you'll see many things working for him, many government operatives working for that person. And so it is not really a fallacy. So what basically we have been hearing Deputy President insisting is that in this election, Kenya UDA will work hard, or Kenya Kwanza will work hard to make sure it is not the voice of the system, but it is the voice of the vote. And there have been areas where the Deputy President has clashed with the so-called system. Okay. Many areas, in the media, in laws. You know, you've seen in Parliament, whenever Parliament wanted to pass some bills, and they realized maybe they will not just have smooth numbers, what they will do? They will mass all those members of Parliament. They will arrest some of them. Those are things that happen conveniently at certain times, but someone behind the scenes is behind them. However, that is past why we voted. We voted, we believe our vote will count.
Quite interesting.
And I can tell you confidently, we strongly believed that we have done enough to make sure we will not complain about a system or a deep state.
Oh, quite interesting. But you believe it's there?
No, I've told you, it is not just because of belief.
Okay.
It is existing in many governments, all governments all around the world. It's not just it's not a thing of Kenya. It's just a thing all over the world. I mean.
Good that apart from just being an advocate of the High Court, but you are also a political scientist. What do you understand about the establishments, about this system, the so-called system? How do you understand? How do they work across the country, across the globe? And even at this point where things are so clear, that the people that have voted, still some people believe that there is a system. Even at the time of voting, some people will still believe that a system is able to do something. What do you think about the system?
Okay, I like what my brother is saying. I thought he would deny some things, but I like what he's saying. You know, a society is not just made of people alone. It is made of special interest groups. You'll find people who are actively in politics, like our politicians. You'll find that there are people who are not actively in politics, but they are in politics. A good example, why would this madam from Keroshe decide to venture into politics? Because she was indirectly in politics, and she felt that the people who are there, they are not representing her interest. So, coming back to home, I would say we have mischaracterized that name, system. At one point, we call it system when we want to call it like that, when it's not favoring us. Some point, we call it deep state. Sometimes we call it dynasty. it is evolving every day. And in any society, because there is transitions of government, the state is static, state does not change, but government changes. Because there is that transition, there are special interest groups who feel like the whole government is benefiting them. They are not evil people, and they would not wish to see a very revolutionary change, so they would like things to remain status quo.
Okay.
So whenever there is a threat for their power to go, of course they will lobby, whether directly or indirectly. So it is the work of a good politician when campaigning in public before the voters, acknowledge that there are interest groups, there are churches, there are mosques, there are entrepreneurs. Some of them call themselves Nairobi business community. However much we would like to vilify them, that is an interest group. So a very clever politician will go there. Coach, if I want to come to this building to see you, I met a gateman there. If I don't respect that person, I will not see you. That is how society works. That is our system.
Okay.
It is not immoral. So it is the work of a good politician to know how to maneuver. In the US, there are those people where Obama was given so much funding by business community. They are not bad people, but they can derail your progress and propel your progress. So, but the one thing I have an issue in with our country, we don't speak about it when it's favoring us. When it is not favoring ourselves, we abuse it. I had an incident where the DP was saying the media does not give him limelight. But the media comes there and they are told to kind of shut up or something like that. You guys saw such a thing. Yeah. So you see now, when you handle these people like that, a good politician should identify these are special interest groups. Once we have angered the media, all of them speak as a group. Next time they will treat us coldly.
Okay, quite interesting.
Yeah.
I really love us to have this conversation about the system, and just as you had said, exhaustively about the system, because I believe it's quite a large topic. I believe as days go by, still talking about, still in the election period, we still will hear of the system. I wonder what the system will do or will be accused of doing this time round. But actually in this election, there's something that actually also happened. That is we had quite a peaceful elections. Of course, compared to other times. It was a bit, the mood was not quite combative as we had experienced in other electoral periods. And I don't know why this, of course, it's a gain. Maybe it's a gain in our democracy. Is this a gain in our democracy to show how mature we are becoming democratically, or there's some, you see, or maybe the people who are what on a choker? I don't know. I don't quite understand why we have it. But let me start with you, Ndawa, even as we are making our, I believe, closing remarks. Yes.
I think our police force is having some mannerism in their jobs also.
Yes.
Because if you look at what used to happen, in fact, people never used to even begin a fight. Every fight that flared up was begun by police, because once they throw the tear gas, people will return. And so what will keep happening is now it will be a full-time running battle. So this time round, our police have really conducted themselves very well, maturely, and according to what they should be doing. So I really appreciate them for that. And also, what I believe has happened is people have always conducted elections nicely without being put in a situation of fight. They used to just vote and go away. Although there are people who could stand around to just wonder what's going on, because that also used to happen because of the mistrust with the IBC. Because people want to see, are they going to steal our votes? Although they don't know that votes are not stolen in such open spaces. They do it in a very civilized manner. So
I wish we get time so that you can explain to us how votes are stolen in civilized
No,
manner.
votes are stolen, yes, even through the data.
Okay.
If we would have opened the server last time, we would have seen how the data does it, and they knew that that is the trend, that is the easiest way, and so that's why it's not yet open up to now. Okay. So don't even panic about that.
Your closing remarks, Mr. Ndao.
My closing remarks would be that Kenyans, we have done what we needed to do. The campaigns came and went, and our part to play the actual game has gone. Let us wait for the counting, and for the IEBC, do the rightful thing, because you are the ones who have always put us in a situation where we have to go fight. If you do the right thing, Kenyans will be very happy. Regardless of who wins, Kenya is still one, and we need one another, because this boundary that puts us together wasn't there just without a reason. We are brothers and we are sisters.
Okay. Mr. Mangeni, we're talking about us having quite a peaceful elections. What is your view? Mature democracy, something amiss?
No, as a student of political science, I believe Kenya democratically we have made a step ahead, and I want to really congratulate all the players in our political space. We have many other things still to learn and still to undo, but I think let us continue working hard to go ahead, not to go behind. I would really also congratulate the two leading presidential contenders, Raila Odinga and William Ruto. These two are responsible for this calmness. So the opposite will happen for the past elections. Those who are top contenders were responsible for the chaotic environment that was there. But today, these elections, these two are responsible for this calmness. The way they've approached issues, the way they've approached moments they're not comfortable with, it is the reason we have gone into a very calm and peaceful moments in our elections. My final words to Kenyans, fellow Kenyans, will be, I am a believer in one Kenya.
Yes.
And I come from a very violent political place, but I've been moving today and I've seen a very different environment. I keep encouraging my people, let us focus on having one beautiful country. And every opportunity to elect leaders should be an opportunity to move our country ahead, not an opportunity to fight each other. And I encourage us that whatever comes out of these results, if it's my side that has lost, Kenya Kwanza, if we believe we have lost unfairly, let us go and follow the court's procedure. If we believe we have won fairly and maybe we have been declared as winners, as I hope so, let us celebrate as Kenyans, not as Kenya Kwanza. Let us remember that the country belongs to all of us, not just those who lost or those who won. Elections have gone. The rest of us are back to being citizens, calling for accountability for whoever will form the next government. That's my encouragement to all of us.
Interesting. Washington.
Yes. First, Eugene, on the elections, I would love to say that our people have grown, we have matured politically. We've not been seeing chaos around as compared to previous elections where there's an aspirant who could not step to Kisumu or someone cannot step to Eldoret and all that. But in this year's election, it's a total different thing. You see DP Ruto going to Migori, Kisumu, Kondele, gets a very heroic reception. Raila goes to Kericho, Uasin Gishu, and everything is just normal. So I think our people are matured politically, and above all, we've learned that these politicians, they are neighbors. You see, they will abuse each other in public, but in private, they shake hands, they story, they go for coffee and all that. And that's what our Kenyans have also realized, that I really need my neighbor tomorrow. There's no need of assaulting or rather injuring my immediate neighbor tomorrow. When I'm sick, I need him to take me to hospital. If I need something, he's the only person who can help me and not the politician. So I think that's a very big step ahead our people have made. On my closing remark, I would love to urge my fellow youths and the entire Kenya as a whole that let's be peaceful as we maintain the peace during the polls. Let the peace continue during the counting, and even after the winner is declared, let's still maintain the peace, because at the end of the day, Kenya is bigger than all of us. And I welcome them to a very heroic swearing in of Raila Amolo Odinga come 30th this month. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Cosmas, they've talked about mature democracy. We're maturing politically. And as you're talking about the peace that we have had during this election, I hope it continues that way, that we're going to have peace to the end. If so, and you also speak and believe that we are maturing democratically, in terms of our democracy, I mean, then we as a nation, you as a political scientist, where do you view Kenya, and what ought we to do more to mature more in terms of democracy, to see a more democratic nation, where we'll not be talking about systems, where we will be talking about government for the people, by the people, and for the people, just as Ndawa described what democracy really is. Of course, you tell us what you think we as Kenyans ought to do, or what ought to be changed in Kenya generally. Of course, even as you give your closing remarks.
Thank you, Eugene. I think Kenya has really made a lot of strides, and it is on the positive side. And I think one of the reasons, apart from what my brothers have shared, one of the reasons that have contributed to peace, in a political agitation, if people cannot express themselves verbally, it is usually war. But at this stage we are, we have access to justice. You can rush to court and file a petition, and several of them have been filed. We have open spaces like groups, and we have even social media, which is very key to what people are going through. People are expressing themselves in social media, like in Twitter, very robust engagement. On Facebook, very robust engagement. On TikTok, I've seen citizens educating fellow citizens on how to vote, which ballot boxes to tick, how to mark a ballot box well. So that is a mature, robust democracy, where it is mwananchi that is driving it without any facilitation. And on my closing remark, what I would say, we have seen the preliminary results being relayed, and from my fair assessment, I think Ruto and Raila are leading. So from one of them, we will have a president who will steer this country for the next 5 years. Whether that is my candidate or not, this is the message to Kenyans. This is one of us. This is a brother, a father, an uncle, someone who came from us. It is about us. So let us support this person, whether he was our candidate or not. Let us support him. He's a Kenyan, and he's our president. Support him for the next 5 years, and those leaders we have, MCAs, MPs, let us hold them to account. Every day. Yes, thank you.
When should we expect the official announcement of the results? That is the presidential.
Well, the requirement is 7 days. So
within 7 days.
Yes,
yeah, within 7 days. But I look at it, and I think in the next, actually by tomorrow evening, we should be having a direction, even if they don't officially announced.
We'll be having a direction. I hope you have this conversation again tomorrow night, the same time, of course. But there's also a conversation that I'd love us to even talk about, but even, of course, the viewers. It's a conversation about us blaming the IBC every election. how unprepared it is. Is it another time to give maybe an international body to maybe hold our elections? Well, this is a conversation that this is something that we can think about even as we are ending the show. I'll not give you a chance to speak because my director is telling me that time is bad, Sani Mbaya. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for honoring my invite and coming to the show, the Insight Special Edition, where we're looking at the decision of Kenyans 2022. We're looking at some of the things that are happening actually right now, even as the results are streaming. We do not have a clear winner, of course, yet, but we believe that as things are going forward, we will know who the leaders will be. And of course, it is the choice of the Kenyans. We, of course, urge you Kenyans to maintain a peace, even during this time of elections. Of course, we believe that we're going to have a peaceful results. Of course, during the results, we will have a peaceful Kenya thereafter. So we ask you to maintain peace. Otherwise, this is the Insight at GBS TV Africa, where we bring you news and issues, of course, as we discuss and dissect them. Of course, in heated debates and conversations, all meant to educate you, to make you understand things which otherwise, without this conversation, you would not have gotten a chance to understand. But of course, through the eyes of different stakeholders who come to this show to give you their views. Well, this is the Insight once again, ladies and gentlemen. 21144 is our SMS line at GBS TV Africa at Eugene Ochieng Kwach. Those are where you can find us on social media platforms. And of course, as we end this, on behalf of everyone who has made this happen tonight, I'd love to wish you a very good night. Well, let us meet tomorrow. Thank you. My